14 dogs and 9 puppies alive and well. But this story could have had a very different ending. It began with an urgent call from North Texas Australian Shepherd Rescue.
All 14 dogs abandoned by a breeder on a property in Arkansas. I knew the rescue well, and I reached out to Paul, and together we went live to get help. The thing is, the rescue just needed a few days of help before they could get up there to get the dogs.
And when we asked Faulkner County Sheriff Tim Ryals for help, the answer, no space. No space in an entire county. Even a board member at the soon-to-open animal shelter told me I was sensationalizing the story and that all the dogs had been rescued. Not true. The dogs were still there.
And bad weather was right around the corner, which included a snowstorm with below freezing temperatures. The dogs were in danger, and we had to act fast. There's a good chance none of them would survive.
And then I made an impassioned plea to the sheriff standing outside in the cold, pleading with him to take one dog in. Maybe the deputies could each take one too.
That didn't happen, but the sheriff's department did claim they sent officers out along with a code enforcement officer. Essentially, they said there's nothing we can do. We just don't have the space to put them anywhere.
Then we went live on multiple social media platforms and now pleading with the public. Who could temporarily take in 14 dogs before the deep freeze set in?
At that point, we knew 10 of the dogs had escaped a hole in the fence on the property. Concerned residents and citizens had picked them up and taken those 10 dogs in. Keep in mind, they had no food, no drinkable water, and most importantly, no heat.
The next day, I called the sheriff's office and got dispatch. Dispatch telling me the sheriff's office rescued all 14 dogs and they were taken to a shelter. Dispatch did not know the name of that so-called shelter.
After Paul called, I went live because we knew it wasn't true since 10 of the dogs, as I said, had escaped the fence line the night before and were taken in by concerned citizens. And that's when we called the sheriff out for lying to the public, the taxpayers, and to those who voted him in. During that TikTok live, people told us they were calling the sheriff's department and were getting different stories from their dispatch, and they were hung up on. The moment of truth, one person in the live was at the property and showed us several dogs still on the property.
The sheriff's department getting caught red-handed in a lie. Remember, after saying they had no room one day, the next day the department said they rescued all the dogs. But as we saw for ourselves in a live video, some of the dogs were still on that property and in the snow. Thankfully, they were still alive, some of them up to their heads in 8 to 10 inches of ice and snow.
One of those dogs, a short time later, gave birth to 9 puppies. If that mama dog would have been on the property, the chances are those 9 little pups would not be here today and they would be over the Rainbow Bridge. Eventually, 13 dogs would make it off the property, and no thanks to the sheriff's department.
In fact, we're still waiting for a picture of the dogs the sheriff claims he saved, and we're all safe and warm wherever he had taken them. But we've yet to get that picture, and we won't get it because, frankly, it doesn't exist.
In another live, we asked residents to call on Faulkner County prosecuting attorney Carol Cruz to file charges against the breeder. In the end, that didn't happen. Instead, they got the breeder to sign over the dogs to the sheriff's department, and the sheriff's department in turn signed the dogs over to the rescue. This is a case where they could have filed multiple counts of animal cruelty and neglect. So why were no charges filed against the breeder, especially since he's done it before? In another county where essentially he got a slap on the wrist for it that time too.
So a plea deal for the time before this, and once again, no charges since he agreed to relinquish the dogs. Now the big question, could the sheriff, Tim Ryals, face any criminal charges himself?
And that's definitely a fair question. Someone should face charges because someone chose to leave those 14 abandoned dogs out in the cold, and the sheriff's department never rescued the dogs. Contrary to what they have said over and over and over again, the day before telling us they had no space for the dogs.
As far as Sheriff Tim Ryals, he may not have had any space, but they did have time to take to Facebook the next day saying they were aware of rumors circulating on social media about abandoned dogs in Faulkner County. Rumors, they claimed, from predominantly out-of-state sources who had no experience with the property. That multiple deputies reportedly checked on the property, visited with the animals, spoke with the owner, and that the dogs had access to fresh water, food, and warm shelter, and that they were being checked on daily, and that they encouraged people not to take part in these so-called rumor mills without factual evidence.
And that is exactly why we want the sheriff to retract his statement that those out-of-state sources were causing a ruckus. When the only reason we were causing a ruckus is because he chose not to do his job. You know, the one he took an oath for to protect and serve the people and the property of Faulkner County.
So we still want answers as to who's going to be charged with animal cruelty, and did the sheriff violate his oath by lying? Are they going to make a public apology to us for calling us out when they were clearly lying? And it's not just a lie to his local constituents. On Facebook, we know it's a lie to the entire world.
And if you think charges should be filed, and if you'd like to voice your concerns, we've included the information with this video.
As for the 14 dogs and 9 puppies, they're with fosters beginning to de-stress from the life they had been living, or should I say, existing.
And a big thank you to North Texas Australian Shepherd Rescue for getting the dogs out of Faulkner County, Arkansas.
And as we always say, have your voice heard.
You'll find the contact information along with the video.